let's talk about something that's going to make you uncomfortable. And good. You should be uncomfortable because today we're diving into one of the most misunderstood concepts in personal transformation. Okay. Faking it until you make it. And I can already hear some of you kind of bristling, mumbling under your breath, but I need to be authentic, Amy. I need to be my true self, Amy. You're telling me to be my true self and my authentic self and live into that person that I am, that I know I can be, but now you're telling me to fake it until I make it. I mean, I'm getting conflicting ideas here. I get it. We're going to get into it, why this is such a great concept, okay? And honestly though, how is, being your authentic self as you are right now working out for you? Okay? Because the authentic you right now, the one you're so desperately trying to protect, was shaped by someone who hurt you, manipulated you, gaslit you into believing you were less than who you are. That authentic self learned to make itself small, to fawn, to people please, to accept crumbs and call it a feast. So maybe, just maybe, it's time to fake being someone else, someone stronger, someone who doesn't take that shit anymore. Today, we're going to go deep into psychology, the neuroscience, and some ancient warfare wisdom that proves one undeniable truth. You don't think your way into a new way of acting. You act your way into a new way of thinking. This is Passion from Pain. I'm Amy Peace, and let's get to burning some of these bridges down. All right. So the battlefield of identity, the big lie that you've been sold. All right. Here's what they don't tell you about leaving toxic relationships, abusive situations, or manipulative environments. You don't just leave the person. Okay. You have to leave yourself behind too. The version of you that survived that situation, that person was necessary. That person kept you alive. Okay, they learned to read the micro expressions, to anticipate the moods, to become invisible when needed and useful when required. Okay, that person is a goddamn warrior who deserves respect. Okay, but that warrior was built for a war that's over now. Here's the really hard truth, okay? That old identity feels so safe. It feels safe because it's real. It's real. And those neural pathways are carved deep inside of you and inside of your nervous system. That nervous system has been trained for years, maybe even decades. In my case, it was decades. Your body knows how to be that person. Your body doesn't know how to be this person that you're trying to become. It doesn't know how to do that. Okay? So we got to train it. We got to teach it. There's only one way to do that. So stick with me. So the neuroscience of becoming. This is real interesting. Let me hit you with a little bit of science. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity. So it's the ability to rewire itself based on repeated actions and experiences. So every time you perform an action, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that behavior, right? And if you've listened to some past episodes, I talk about this all the time. And in the fun little phrase, the neurons that fire together, wire together, right? and so it's so true. It's so true with the brain, right? But here's the big kicker, right? Your brain doesn't know the difference between fake and real when you're taking action. I don't know, right? And that's why we have the reactions we do in our nervous system when there is no real threat that we're in, but our mind is creating the perceived threat, and then anxiety overtakes us, right? There's a fake problem, and the brain doesn't know the difference, the body doesn't know the difference, so it reacts. Same thing here. It doesn't know the fake from the real. And so when we're retraining our brain and our nervous system, we use that and manipulate that to our advantage. Okay? And this is where understanding the brain and manipulation and human nature really comes to be helpful in a positive way. Okay? So when you stand up straight, even though you feel small, okay, your brain releases different neurochemicals. When you speak with confidence, even though you're terrified, you're literally rewiring your amygdala's threat response. When you set a boundary, even though every fiber of your body is screaming they'll leave you, you're building a new neural architecture. Okay, Dr. Amy Cuddy at Harvard showed in her research that holding power poses for just 2 minutes, increased testosterone by 20% and decreased cortisol by 25%. Okay, so you don't have to feel powerful to become powerful. Okay, you just have to do the pose. You just have to fake it. And here's where it gets deeper, darker, and a little more uncomfortable. The person you're faking is actually more real than the person that you have been. What? The person that you are faking is actually more real than the person you have been. Think about that. Who have you been? Is that the real you, or is that the you that was created out of the need for survival? Was that the you that was created and formed and molded by somebody else? Okay. I like to tie in ancient warfare stories, strategies, concepts when I can, because it is like you are at war with yourself. Okay, when you are going through this type of journey, because you're battling yourself. And so a lot of the concepts from these ancient warfare strategies actually, align greatly with what you're going through. And one of the groups that I really loved to look into and read about when I was going through my journey was that of the samurai in the Bushido. Okay, the samurai had this concept that's going to kind of rewire how you think about all of this. Okay, essentially in Bushido, they taught you become what you practice. Okay, identity through action, not reflection. Okay, in Bushido, the way of the warrior, right? It wasn't about feeling like a warrior. It was about behaving like one until the behavior and the being were indistinguishable. They were one. The behavior and the being were one at that point. Okay. The samurai didn't wait to feel brave to act brave. Okay. He acted brave repeatedly, ritualistically, daily, until bravery became his very nature. And they had a saying: the way is in training, not in feeling, not in believing, in training. Every morning, a samurai would dress in his armor, even in times of peace. When there was no war, he'd dress in full armor. Why? Because the ritual of becoming prepared for battle, even when there was no battle present, the act of dressing as a warrior made you a warrior. Same thing, same concept here. Okay? Do you see how that applies? So the death poem you're writing with your own life, okay? In Bushido, every samurai was expected to live with the understanding that they were already dead. A concept called memento mori in the West, if I said that right. You'll let me know in the comments if I didn't get it. But this idea was taken to an extreme level in Japanese warrior culture. Okay. When you accept that the old you is dead, not wounded, not healing, but dead, you're free to become someone new without asking permission from your past. The person who accepted abuse, dead. The person who believed they deserved less, dead. The person who made themselves small to make others comfortable, dead. You're not healing them. You're not fixing them. You're burying them with honor, okay? And building a new person on top of their grave. But we're burying them with honor because they survived a battle. They were very necessary at the time. But now, not so much. Not when we're trying to become who we are meant to become, right? And so it's time to bury them with honor and start building a new person on top of that grave. Sun Tzu, one of my favorite strategists from the ancient times, okay? He had a strategy in the art of deception, okay? And here's where we just bring in a little bit of the art of war. One of my favorite books to read, okay? Because Sun Tzu understood something very critical that applies here. All warfare is based on deception, okay? When you're rebuilding yourself after toxicity, you are at war, okay? You're at war, not with other people, not with a system, not with a side, okay? Not with a religion. You are at war with your own conditioning. Essentially, you're at war with yourself, with the internalized voice of every person who told you that you were too much or not enough. That's what you're at war with right now, okay? Sun Tzu said, appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. Okay, you see the deception there and how that can apply and be helpful. So I'm going to flip that for you though. When you are weak, appear strong. Not to deceive others, but to deceive your own nervous system into building strength. To deceive your own nervous system into building strength. Okay? Your internal enemy, that voice of doubt, of fear, of worthlessness, is reading your external signals. When you dress well, you signal worth. When you speak clearly, you signal confidence. When you take up space, you signal you deserve to exist. Okay? Fake the external signals. Your internal enemy will retreat. And in that retreat, you will find actual ground to stand on. Stand on and build. To build that new you. Okay? But there's this uncomfortable middle that kind of forms when faking it kind of feels like we're lying, putting a mask on. The authenticity trap. So let's get to this part where it gets a little messy, and I get it, but we're going to straighten this all out. Because somewhere along the way, you're going to feel like a fraud. You're going to feel like a liar, like you're betraying your authentic self. Okay? And good. Okay, that means it's working. That discomfort that you're feeling is called cognitive dissonance. It's the gap between who you've been and who you're becoming. And here's what nobody tells you. That gap is supposed to be uncomfortable. It's the birth canal of transformation. It's not supposed to be an easy ride, a smooth transition. It doesn't work that way. Trust me. Okay, but here's where we need to get a little nuanced, because there's a difference between strategic self-creation and pathological masking. Okay, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do the pathological masking. We don't want to mask who we are. Okay, we want to strategically create ourselves and rewire our brain and our nervous system. Okay, so healthy faking it, what does that look like? Okay, it's acting confident while building competence. Okay, it's setting boundaries before you feel you are ready to. It's speaking up even though your voice shakes. Your body shivers, is terrified, okay, of speaking up. But it's doing it even though, okay? Healthy faking it is dressing like the person that you're becoming. Wear the hat. Go out and get a top hat. Just feel the power of the top hat. Okay, and healthy faking it, is taking action despite the fear. All right. So what does unhealthy faking it look like? The masking, all right? It's pretending you're not hurt when you really need support. That's unhealthy. Don't do that. All right. When you need help, get the support that you need. Don't pretend like you are fixed, that you are healed, that you are strong enough to do it on your own. Okay. Unhealthy faking, masking is suppressing legitimate emotions to appear healed to other people. Like you're over it, right? You're past it. But you still have major anxiety, major depression over the issues, right? Unhealthy faking it is adopting someone else's values instead of discovering your own, or performing for external validation rather than internal growth. I used to do that one a lot. Okay. Or it's wearing a mask so thick you forget that there's a face underneath your face, right? Right? The difference. Did you pick up on what the difference was? The difference was direction and intention. Are you faking strength to build strength? Or are you faking wholeness to avoid the work of actually becoming whole? Okay. The self-abandonment paradox. Okay. And here's the real mind fuck that'll keep you up at night, really. Okay. What if being authentic to your current self is just another form of self-abandonment you learned from the toxic people? What if being authentic to your current self is just another form of the self-abandonment you learned from toxic people? What if the real you that feels so sacred and needs protecting is just Stockholm syndrome? Yeah, it's just the Stockholm syndrome version of yourself, the one who learned to love her cage. The people who hurt you taught you to ignore your needs, to dismiss your worth, to betray yourself for their comfort. And now you're calling the betrayal authenticity because it's familiar, it's comfortable, right? Maybe the most authentic thing you can do is refuse to be that person anymore, even if it feels fake at first. Can that be the most authentic thing that you could do? I think so. At this point, yeah. What do you think? Put it in the comments. I want to know what you think. Is faking it until you make it the most authentic thing you can do for yourself, and refuse to be that person that they taught you to be, that they molded you to be, that your nervous system created, even if it feels fake at first? Wow. So let's talk about building from here, the new operating system. Okay, and habit formation, because that's what we're really discussing here. Okay, everything that I've talked about, it's just all about creating habits. Okay, another fancy way of looking at habit creation. You're not just changing behaviors, okay? You're installing a completely new operating system over the malware infected one you've been running for a long time. Okay. Dr. Philippa Lally's research at the University College of London found it takes an average of 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic, not 21, like a lot of pop psychology bullshit you've heard. 66 days of consistent action before your brain stops fighting you. This means you're going to feel like a fraud for at least 2 months, minimum. Probably a little longer, too, just to be perfectly honest. Okay, don't get to day 66 and go, oh hell. No, it could take a little longer. All right, just be prepared for that. The Romans didn't conquer the world through passion or inspiration. Okay, that only gets you so far, right? You got to have passion, you got to have inspiration, but it's only going to take you so far. All right, you have to build the infrastructure over the emotion. Okay, and the Romans built, their empire and conquered the world through building roads and aqueducts and systems. Okay, infrastructure that functioned regardless of how anyone felt. You need to build infrastructure in your life that functions regardless of how you feel. Okay, and we do this by creating rituals. So a morning ritual. Okay, one thing that you can do, you don't do it when you feel motivated. You do it because it's the architecture of your new identity. So every morning you do the things that are in your ritual, not because you feel motivated or only when you feel motivated. Okay, because it is the architecture of who you are becoming. All right. And boundary setting. You don't wait until you feel strong enough. You set the boundary. You feel weak as hell and you do it anyway. And you uphold the boundary anyway. And physical presence. You don't wait until you feel confident to stand up straight. You stand up straight until standing up straight creates confidence. Okay. The Spartan method. Discipline equals freedom. The Spartans had a simple philosophy. Okay, discipline in preparation creates freedom in battle. Discipline in preparation creates freedom in battle. Every action you take that aligns with who you are becoming is a deposit in the bank account of your future freedom. Every time you act like the person you want to be, even when it feels fake, especially when it feels fake, you're buying your freedom from who you were. Okay, enough philosophy. Let's put our money where our mouth is now. Okay, here's your homework. All right, this is what's going to get you through. This is what's going to help you. And yeah, it's designed to scare you. All right, if it didn't scare you, then you're not doing it right. Okay, these journeys are messy. They are, and they're scary, and they're frightening, and they're rewarding, and they are incredible. What comes from it is just incredible. Too incredible to put words to. Trust me, I'm on the other end. I'm still evolving, but I'm on the other end. And I know from personal experience. Okay. You do it and you do it scared anyway. Right? The fear challenge. Do one thing that terrifies you. Complete within 7 days. Okay. Pick one action that the person you're becoming would do without hesitation that terrifies your current self. Okay, some examples. Set a boundary with someone you've never said no to. Wear the outfit you think you're not ready for or don't deserve. Either speak up in a meeting or situation where you normally stay silent. End a relationship, friendship that's been dead for years. Apply for a job opportunity you think that maybe you're not qualified for. Okay, post the photo, opinion, truth you've been hiding. Go somewhere alone you've always wanted to go. Right? But there's a few rules. All right. It must scare you enough that you've been avoiding it, whatever it is. Okay. It must align with who you're becoming, not who you've been. You must do it within 7 days. No exceptions, no negotiating. Okay. You don't wait until you feel ready. You'll never feel ready. Trust me. And after you do it, you write down what happened. And we'll get to that. Okay. Daily rituals, the non-negotiable practices. Okay. These are daily, not when you feel like it, not when it's convenient, but daily. Daily. All right. Morning identity rituals. You do 10 minutes in the morning. Okay. The mirror work. So you look yourself in the eyes and say out loud, I am Amy. I am becoming who I am choosing to be. Insert whoever that is. The person I was is dead, and I honor what they survived, and I release them. And you do this until it stops feeling ridiculous, because it's going to feel ridiculous. Okay? 2, the warrior's dress. Put on your armor. This is where whatever makes you feel like the person you're becoming. Maybe it's that blazer, okay? Maybe it's the boots, the cool boots, the sexy boots, right? Maybe it's the red lipstick or the cologne or the watch. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is the ritual of putting it on with intention, okay? And power posing. 2 minutes with a power pose. Arms up, chest open, take up space, and let your physiology tell your neurology who is in charge now. And then you want to do an evening integration ritual. And this is going to take about 10 minutes in the evening as well. The 3 acts. Write down 3 things you did today that the old you would have never done, no matter how small. Spoken up, did not apologize when you weren't wrong, took up space. Write them down. Okay. Number 2, the death poem. Write 1 sentence about what part of the old you died today. Today, I killed off the part of me that believes I need permission to exist. Keep these and watch the old you disappear line by line. Number 3, tomorrow's rehearsal. Got to prepare for tomorrow. Visualize yourself doing 1 thing tomorrow as the person you're becoming. See it, feel it, rehearse it in your mind. This brain, your brain is building that pathway tonight while you sleep. Okay. And the weekly expansion. So this is to push the boundary. Every week, expand your capacity by 10%. No more, just 10%. If you set 1 boundary this week, you set 2 next week, right? If you spoke up once, you speak up twice. If you wore the outfit once, you wear it twice. If you went somewhere alone once, go somewhere new alone, right? Create small incremental expansions. Okay, you're not trying to be a completely different person overnight. You're going to overwhelm yourself and you're going to have an identity crisis. That's not what we're doing here. That's not what this is about. Okay, you're trying to be 10% more of who you're trying to become every single week. Just 10%. In 10 weeks, that's not 100% more. That's exponential and it's quantum. Wow. Let's talk about a reality check, the weekly reality check, the hard truth inventory that we need to take. Every Sunday, ask yourself these questions and write honest answers. What did I fake this week that felt powerful? What did I fake this week that felt like abandoning myself? Okay. Where am I performing for others versus building for myself? What boundary did I not set that I needed to? What action did I avoid because I was waiting to feel ready? If I died today, would that person in the casket be who I'm choosing to become or who I've been running away from? The last question is brutal, and it's supposed to be. Right? Memento mori. You're already dead. Start acting like the person you want to be remembered as. And here's what I need you to understand before we close, okay? Faking it till you make it isn't about becoming fake. Okay? It's not about being inauthentic. All right? It's about refusing to stay real to a version of yourself that was built by trauma. that was built by other people's perception of who you needed to be or who they wanted you to be. Every person who hurt you, who manipulated you, who made you small, they're counting on you to stay authentic to the person that they created. They're counting on you to be predictable, to stay in your lane, to keep yourself small so they can feel big. The most rebellious thing you can do is refuse to be that person anymore. When you fake confidence, you're rebelling against everyone who told you to stay small. When you fake boundaries, you're rebelling against everyone who taught you that your needs don't matter. And when you fake power, you're rebelling against everyone who benefited from your powerlessness. And here's the beautiful, terrifying truth. Eventually, you won't be faking anymore. The pose becomes the posture. The practice becomes the person. The way becomes the warrior. But you have to be willing to feel like a fraud at first. You have to be willing to bury the old you with honor and build someone new on top of that grave. You have to be willing to act your way into a new way of thinking instead of thinking your way into a new way of acting. The old you is dead. Stop trying to resurrect them and start building their replacement. This is Passion from Pain. Now go scare the hell out of yourself. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.